Oh man, I tell you, a imperfect, flawed performance from Chelsea Football Club, but spirited and a massive, important 3 points in the Premier League. Chelsea 2, Brentford 0. I've got so many things to say about this match, but it's important to start by saying Brentford are really good, man. Brentford are a great team. I heard somewhere on like a podcast that going into this game week, they are the form team in the Premier League. Correct me if I'm wrong if that's untrue, but I did hear that. And of course, we started the game week with them above us in the Premier League. I had them to go down after they lost in Burmo with this Norgard, the gaffer, and, pretty much all the important people in their club. But they've been excellent this season. They've been in scintillating form. Igor Thiago's been excellent. Sharda's been excellent. And they're a team that just knows each other. We beat them 2-0. It doesn't tell the entire story, of course. They had loads of attacking momentum. We will see that in the stats on SofaScore. But this is our first clean sheet in 9 games. Objectively, we kept a clean sheet against a form team in the Premier League, and it's our first in 9 games, and it's a result that sees us go above them in the Premier League on a day where Liverpool drew to Burnley at home. Of course, they're above us, and ultimately we're chasing Champions League football. There was a demonstration, the protest outside the game before kickoff. I saw some images from some journalists and some videos. It looked like a few hundred people. Not entirely sure. As like that sort of comes out in the media and it's written up, we'll react to that accordingly on Chelsea news videos. But certainly it looked like there's some banners, chants. So we will, of course, I'll cover that when I see more. But for the moment, we're talking about the game. So welcome on back to Football Therapy with me, your host, Jan. Delighted to have you here with me and delighted to have a win, multiple goals, a clean sheet, and a Palmer goal. We'll speak about Palmer, of course. Thank you for joining me. If you want to support the content, please do consider it by liking and subscribing to this channel on YouTube. And do consider searching Football Therapy Podcast on your podcast apps. And, Spotify's got the video, so check it out there. Give us a follow. And a 5-star rating. I'm thankful for your continued support, mates. Let's get into it. Right, so, yes. Tough gig. I mean, Brentford are good, man. I just want to get out early doors. I know I said that in the early intro, but they're really, really resolute. I genuinely thought they'd get relegated. Keith Andrews come in. He was the set-piece coach. To lose all those players, they deserve immense credit, not only for just playing as a team, but for continually bringing through these forwards that deliver. Like Igor Thiago, he'll be the next one to make loads of money. Sharda's got a goal in him. Their midfield's resolute. They're really good at long throws. I definitely thought we were going to concede a goal here. And we didn't necessarily play well, per se, but we dug in and we had important things happen. There's a few talking points. Player performances, Cole Palmer's general performance. Attacking was poor. He had some good defensive moments. He scored an insanely good penalty, which of course was won really well by Liam Delap. I think we were denied a stonewall penalty. But Brentford probably were better than us generally in attacking moments. Certainly for large parts of the game, I think they were. So it's so important to get this result, get this 3 points. I think Rosenior was very interesting in terms of loads of tactical changes, loads of rotation, infinite amount of notes being passed onto the pitch to his players to change. So he's clearly a tinker man. Made all 5 changes, changed shape, rotated players at different roles. You can tell he's very much going to be, despite general principles and shape being the same as Maresca, there's going to be a lot of innovation for better or worse, hopefully for better. It was really nice to see Rob Sanchez have such a good game after his midweek howler against Arsenal. Like he really sort of, I'm not going to be mean and say he cost us the tie, but he had a really bad game. So we're going to get into it. We'll speak about certain players, where we go from here. Of course, there's loads of transfer news coming out at the moment. Apparently, not only are we going to sign a centre-back, probably the lad from Rennes, but possibly a midfielder as well. We will, of course, cover that. Before we look at the SofaScore graphic, I do want to say, amid worrying, wobbly moments and uncertainty and, Palmer doing the problems and, Garnacho missing a sitter, there was loads of good moments. Now, you don't want to be a moments team. And also, we've got to be very mindful that Liam Rosenior has just arrived. He's got a game every 2 or 3 days. I know like he's got similar tactics to Maresca, but he's still new to these players, to the club, to the training ground, to the league. You got to give a little bit of like patience. I know Chelsea fans, we're a big club, we demand success rightly, but amid it all, like, it must be chaotic to try and get things across. But we're going to take a look now. So for those of you looking at the video, interesting to see attacking momentum meter, pretty even in the first half. They had most of it in the second. We were ahead though, definitely weathering the storm, and Rob Sanchez getting player of the match on SofaScore. Now, Kelleher, of course, made a howler for the second goal for a penalty that I would say was well won by Joao Pedro. We'll talk about the timeline and what happened, but yeah, Sanchez in goal. Chalobah and Tosin started. Everyone sighed collectively when they saw Tosin, but I thought he might come in due to his height and the set pieces and the long throws. And actually, before he came off injured, he played pretty well. Cucurella and Reece James, first choice, of course, starting in the fullback positions. Or are they? I mean, can I just say, I'm about to say the lamest thing that I've said probably since, I don't know, I was playing World of Warcraft. I'm really looking forward to seeing the heat maps of these players. Loser! Because there was so much player rotation and popping up at different things, and Palmer was keeping the width, and then Neto and the only player that I think didn't rotate that much was Alejandro Garnacho, whose job is always just to keep the width on the left flank. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, Tosin, Chalobah, James, Cucurella backline. First choice, I suppose, double pivot in Caicedo and Fernandes, though Santos came on, and I'm genuinely looking forward to seeing more of Santos. Palmer in the 10, question mark. Neto on the right, Garnacho on the left. So let's look at some heat maps. First off, Cucurella, he sort of tucked in and made a back three quite a lot. That's why you see the dominant heat map there as the left centre-back of a three. But he did invert, he did go forwards in certain phases of play. Tosin was central. As you can see, he spent a lot of time around the goalkeeper defending set pieces as the tall boy. Chalobah ostensibly is the right centre-back. Now, Reece James, yeah, sort of inverting into the right central defensive midfield role. He did get forward a little bit more, but often as well sort of staying quite deep to defend. Caicedo all over the gaff, as you'd expect. Enzo in the left pocket a little bit more. Cole Palmer, right wing number 10. He did end up finishing as right wing, so that's why it's more dominant on the heat map. Pedro Neto played both wings. There you go. And Garnacho, presumably, is just going to be on the left. There you go. Very, very dominant left-wing heat map. And Joao Pedro, the quintessential false nine. Substitute appearances, all 5. We saw Santos come on. Fofana, who got a strong rating, despite being booked, which usually nerfs it. Liam Delap winning the penalty. So Santos would have played double pivot with Caicedo. Fofana, of course, just replacing Tosin as a centre-back. Liam Delap just running as a centre-forward. Most of his heat... I'm clicking on Fofana then. That's very confusing. Yeah, a few touches. Of course, the crucial one winning a penalty in the 18-yard box. Josh Achampong. Why is it not showing me his heat map? I've lost his heat map. For some reason, I can't see Josh Achampong's heat map. What? Hold on. Whatever, he doesn't have a heat map. Maybe because he wasn't on the pitch for long enough. Hato, Rosenior's boy, coming on as well. Right, so let's quickly go through the timeline. We'll look at some stats. So Enzo Fernandez assists Joao Pedro in the 26th minute. It looked like a tight offside. It was really freaking tight, actually. It was like a shoulder t-shirt thing. But he gets the goal, and yeah, Joao Pedro will end the season probably for Chelsea with quite a few goals. And for a player who you see as a sort of false 9, second striker, number 10, bit of an auxiliary forward, I think he'll end with good numbers in all competitions. Of course, yet another goal and an assist for Chelsea's vice-captain Enzo Fernandez, who's been just constantly propping up with productivity. His attitude's been excellent, even if he has been upset with the sacking of Maresca. And they gave Rosenior a big hug when he came off. And yeah, after just another goal involvement for him. And of course, we know he proper digs in and is a bit of a warrior on the pitch. Sharda got booked. He's an amazing player. But yeah, all over the gaff. He was flopping all over the gaff. Now gets booked as well. No Chelsea bookings at that point, it looks like. Santos comes on in the 57th minute. Now, we're still a goal to the good, but we've sort of faced a lot of attacking momentum from Brentford, of course, they're confident. They feel like they've got nothing to lose. They come into this game above us. And I think probably because the game's quite transitional, bringing on Santos for Garnacho just makes more of a presence in the midfield. It basically means Cole Palmer moves over to right wing, Neto moves over to left wing, Enzo Fernandez moves up in the 10, and then you've got the Kai Santos midfield pivot, which I'm quite looking forward to seeing a little bit more. I think there's a lot of potential there. So it's a little bit of like Rosenior going, right, we've got to an hour, we're still leading, but I don't trust this. I'm going to sort of shore up the midfield, which I must say, like, as a decision, I totally endorse. I think there's probably sensible management from the Chelsea manager. But we've got a forced injury, so Tosin, who was probably, in hindsight, appropriately selected as a centre-back, as a very, very tall man with loads of long balls and set pieces. Wesley comes on, who I think has dipped in form a little bit for Fana. But he came on, looked pretty good, despite getting a card for arguing or whatever. Made a few crucial interceptions. It's probably worth mentioning it really, because I'm already into the second half now. I think we had a denied penalty. Correct me if I'm wrong, and I may be wrong. I may have missed like a crucial angle in the replay, but João Pedro looks like he had the back of his heel kicked in the box without contact on the ball. And I think we should have had a penalty, which probably Palmer would have converted because he converted later in the game. We'll speak about his performance in a moment, Palmer. But, yeah, let me know in the comments. I really do think we should have had a penalty there, but I might be wrong. I'm open to being wrong. So Fofana comes on for Tosin. Cucurella gets booked for a foul. He always gets booked, doesn't he? And then Delap comes on in the 74th minute. João Pedro's been good. He doesn't do the hold-up play, stretching the game like Delap does. They are very different. They play different. So you ask Delap to come and like offer a pressure release valve. He comes on. He does exactly that. He gets the ball. Kelleher comes out. Sort of rush of blood, and Delap makes sure he knocks it past him, wins the penalty, and at that point Cole Palmer steps up, penalty taker of course, you know, and I'm thinking, oh my god, is he going to miss? Because his confidence does look low, but he executes what can only be described as an unsavable, brilliant penalty into the side netting. Doesn't matter where the goalkeeper, you just don't save that basically. He doesn't do the cold celebration, he does like the ear whatever, because he probably knows people have been chatting about him, but yeah, he gets a goal, and I'm delighted for him. 3 changes for the Brentford to try and change the game now with limited time left. And they have a few cracks at goal. Ouattara's their record signing, of course. Lewis Potter's good, a good operator. Sharda comes off because, yeah, I don't know. And bearing in mind, they've had chances. Sharda had a moment where he should have shot and he didn't. They've had a few things go wide. Rob Sanchez made an excellent save. Igor Thiago, who's an amazing goal scorer this season, heads a bit wide. Fofana gets booked for an argument. Cole Palmer gets booked for time wasting, kicking the second ball back on the pitch, which I knew he'd get booked for that if they saw it. And we see out the win. A 2-0 win, the first clean sheet in 9 Premier League games against a form side that were above us. They're the facts, objectively. Now, it was kind of a flawed performance. I think the only players that played consistently well in this game were Rob Sanchez in goal, which I welcome hugely to see that again. Probably Enzo Fernandez. I think he was consistently good. And then that's kind of like oddly it. Like João Pedro did great for the goal. I think he should have won a penalty. You know, Neto's did couple of amazing moments, but he also screwed up a couple of attacks and killed them. Caicedo at times looked like he was prime Moises Caicedo doing Caicedo things and then screwed up a couple of times. Garnacho missed a sitter despite doing his job, generally doing his job really well, like always being that wide option, always being that sort of like switch of play. Reece James, probably not his best game, you know, so the players that came back in, Palmer, Caicedo and James, that we all thought, okay, they're back in, everything's going to be alright, didn't really like, you know, massively do well, I don't think necessarily, like they're still yet to click. I'm so mindful to just criticise them, Rosenior, just immediately after he's arrived, you know. It was a really disappointing couple of moments from the goalkeeper against Arsenal. It was a good cup win, you know, in the FA Cup away, but you sort of expect that. This was his first Premier League game and a 2-0 win against Brentford. He'll be very pleased with that. Now, I do want to speak about Cole Palmer. on my halftime live stream on Instagram, he was taking a lot of shade from the Chelsea fans that follow me. Look, he's being managed back from his long-term groin injury, and he's clearly suffering from some sort of crisis of confidence, I think, personally. We've seen this before with him under Maresca, maybe not under Pochettino. And it is tricky. Now, his penalty was amazing, and he did do some good stuff in this game. He did a couple of really good defensive actions. He did work hard, and there was moments when he was pressing really hard on the touchline in front of the Chelsea manager where, was getting applauded for that. He lasted the whole game, which is a huge plus for a guy who's coming back from an injury. And, it's going to be up to Liam Rosenior to get the best out of Cole Palmer and Estevao Willian. Now, Estevao apparently was sick. There's a flu outbreak. I know a lot of people were taking the mickey out of Liam Rosenior talking to his team about the importance of washing their hands in this flu outbreak or something and all this kind of stuff. I think it's just silly. It's very David Brent. Arteta does a lot of that stuff at Arsenal, doesn't he? Like the Lego stories and all that silly stuff. I don't really pay too much attention to it. What I do pay attention to is what I see on the pitch. And there was a lot of changes of sort of formations, personnel, shape, player rotation, and like I say, it was very interesting to see so many notes being passed around by Fernandez was getting them and putting them in his socks. So clearly he wants to get as much of a message as possible onto the pitch to his players to change things. I think he's probably on the 3 games we've seen, he does seem to be much more reactive or reactive to what's happening on the pitch than Maresca does. Maresca would sort of wait out a little bit more. I think a little bit with Liam Rosenior, we'll see him go, right, I'm going to change this, change shape, bring this guy on. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's going to be positive for us. The jury's going to be out until the end of the season, basically. We need a huge sample size to truly judge this situation here. But it is going to be massively up to him to get the best out of not just these Liam Delaps and Hattos that we didn't really see do well under Enzo Maresca. And you could even say Andre Santos was massively underused under Maresca. You could talk about those 3, but really it's about getting in the ears of Estevao and Cole Palmer. And Estevao in his cameos looks good under him. But we need Cole Palmer back. It wasn't under Maresca and it won't be under Rosenior. This is not Pochettino's chaos ball where Cole Palmer can do what he wants and players in transition. We'll concede loads of goals, but we'll score loads of goals. And Cole Palmer as an individual himself will just get loads of goals and assists and man of the match awards like he did on Pochettino. That's, he won't do that. He wouldn't have done that at City. If he transferred to City now, he wouldn't be doing that. He wouldn't have done it under Maresca. He won't do it under Rosenior. It was very much like a sort of chaos ball thing where he can shine. Now, he can still be brilliant in this team. We saw that in the Club World Cup final. We've seen that in other individual games. But it's a confidence thing, I think. I'm not one of these people that think the specialist medical team thing is a joke. We've had so many injury crises in the last few years. If Chelsea is spending money on specialists to try and prevent that, for me, that's a good thing, and we've seemingly done quite well with Wesley Fofana, Reece James. If we can do that with Lavia, that would be a huge bonus. And if we can prevent, Palmer was out for a long time, if we can keep him back in the team. But for me, now it's going to be a psychological game for the Chelsea manager to get Palmer back. Not so much Estevao, he's just got to let Estevao vibe and keep doing his thing. But with Cole Palmer, it's very much a, how do we get inside this kid's head? And how do we get him cooking again? Aye. So, like I said, a flawed performance, let's be fair, but ultimately a very good win. Let's take a look at the table here. Chelsea currently in 6th place, above Brentford after beating them. And yeah, I think before this, they would have had a win before maybe, which made them the form team. That's what I heard anyway. But Chelsea, of course, Man United had an amazing win against City. City looked awful. Arsenal were just going to win the league, I think, which is sad. But it was always going to happen one day. So Chelsea are ahead of Brentford by a point. We've also got a big goal difference. We've got the 3rd best goal difference in the league, actually, which is quite interesting. We are 1 point off 5th, which could be Champions League. We are 2 points off 4th. So very much still in it. Just need to keep up the form and keep up the good performances. But let me know what you think, guys. Please do leave your thoughts down in the comment section here on the YouTube. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Do check me out on the podcast platforms if you want to use that, Football Therapy Podcast, and give us a 5-star rating on Spotify. We move. I'll be here to cover the Chelsea news, so keep it locked. All right.